Welcome to a world of unforgettable experiences and immersive marketing. Transform your events into extraordinary moments that captivate your audience. Whether it's corporate gatherings, product launches, or community celebrations, our immersive marketing solutions elevate your events to new heights. Immerse your attendees in a world of audiobooks and podcasts tailored to your brand. Engage their senses and leave a lasting impression. Explore the power of storytelling with our curated podcast content. From insightful discussions to entertaining narratives, we've got the perfect audio experience for your event. Ready to make your next event unforgettable? Scan the QR code now and book a complimentary immersive marketing call with our experts. Let's create memories together. Elevate your events with immersive marketing. Scan the code and let the magic begin.
You're showing up. You're posting. You're speaking. You're doing everything they told you would grow your business. So why is it not converting? Because visibility is only half the equation. Getting attention is easy. Turning that attention into clients takes strategy. VoiceLab was built to solve that. This is where front-end visibility meets back-end conversion. You learn how to get on stages, create your own platforms, and use podcasts, summits, and workshops to grow your audience and generate real leads. Then you learn what most people never build. A system that captures those leads, follows up, nurtures relationships, and turns interest into revenue. Email and newsletter strategy that actually gets responses. Workflows, not just more noise. Real connection that leads to real business. Inside VoiceLab, you are not guessing. You're learning the how. You're implementing in real time. You're building a business that works even when you are not constantly chasing attention. Because here's the truth. If you don't have visibility, no one knows you exist. If you don't have systems, nothing converts. VoiceLab gives you both, so you can stop performing for attention and start building momentum that pays you back. If you are ready to grow your authority, expand your reach, and finally turn visibility into income, join Colleen Stubbs and Nicole Borghi in the VoiceLab. Scan the QR code, join VoiceLab Group on the School platform, and build the business that actually works.
I am so honored to be here in this moment with you, and welcome to the Authority Code. You know, it's really where leaders are coming in to sharpen their voice, their strength, their visibility, and learn how to influence with absolute authenticity. And for these next 3 days, you're going to hear today, tomorrow, and the next day, right? The 19th, the 20th, and the 21st. Come in, pop in, support the speakers. And if you're watching on social media, I encourage you to get into the Zoom room. Go ahead and register. Click that link from EventRaptor, and I'll pop that in just a sec and say, hey, you know what? I want to get to know these speakers. I want to be part of this event. I want to get in the room and get to know them. You're going to hear from great speakers. You're going to get to know a little bit more about them and what are they about? What's going on? Who are they? Get a little more juicy connection in there. And I believe we're truly in, everybody's got attention deficit disorder. And I don't just mean ADD. I really mean that we need attention. We are in, and the great Tawana says this all the time. We are in a trust recession, and we don't trust people because we're not connected. So this is a chance for you to turn on your camera, say hello, be in the room, be where all the action is taking place. And if you can't be there, we honor that and welcome on the social media. And thank you so much for being here. So let's get to it. Let me bring up this round robin questions. What we're going to do is we're just going to go through one speaker at a time, and these speakers have a chance to just answer the question about them and about their business. So we're going to find out, this is all about leadership and community building. How do you influence your audience and your community? And it just comes from a passion for me to volunteer to be out there in the community. And I think as entrepreneurs, and I know the wonderful entrepreneurs and the conversations I've had with everybody in the room today, and for those of you out there that can't be in the room right now, is that, hey, what can I do to move the needle and share my why, my passion, and change everything? Let's get to it. So, Art, I'm going to bring you up and I'm going to spotlight you. I've got the first question. And I'm going to add you here on the spotlight, and I'm just going to let you go ahead and share. You know, the question here is, what does influence actually mean to you? Beyond social media likes and vanity questions, we talked about your stories that you share, your business, and what you're doing in the community. So, how do you influence beyond scaling social media?
Influenced by just giving people the opportunity to get what's best for them. I focus on the people I'm dealing with. I focus on their needs, not my needs. A little story from my father's day. When he first got into the insurance business, I'm a life insurance agent, an independent agent. And he went to a neighbor who was a captive agent for one company. And that neighbor, he asked the neighbor a question about a certain policy. And the neighbor said to him, "You're selling, you're not buying." And that was the moment that my father decided he wanted to become an independent agent, because we can represent many companies and find what's best for the client, not just a limited number of things available from me as an agent. To me, that was a lesson I learned when I was a child, and it stayed with me the rest of my life. I want to be there to help people I help and give them the best. To me, that's influence. Nicole, you're muted.
Nicole, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that weather is kicking in. So you guys, if there's a few gaps, I just want to let the audience know that it is thundering and pouring cats and dogs. And we're just going to keep on rolling here. I think we are okay. The signal looks good. So let's do that. And I love that. And welcome here. Colleen just popped in the room. So I love what you're doing with your influence and your audience, and what you're talking about, Art. The legacy that you are keep on sharing with the community and with people out there. Your father obviously influenced you, and now you are influencing other people. And it doesn't matter what you're maybe peddling, what your call to action is, what you're selling. We all do sell, but it is that passion and that purpose that we bring to this table, and what we need to learn. So, Suzanne, I'm going to bring you up here, and I've got a question for you. So let me bring that over here and reboot this right here. Let's get that over. All right. There we go. Hello, hello. So let's see. The question I have for you is, obviously we're still talking about the importance of influence and how do we speak to one another and what's going on here. So how do you build, Suzanne, how do you build real authority online without sounding like a walking motivational coffee cup? We all love those sayings, and hey, I want to share sparkle sunshine, and I want everything that way. But how do you truly share motivation through what you talk about on your stages or in your business?
Motivation for me is an inside job. So it comes from, like you were talking about, influence. It comes from authority. It comes from who we are being inside. And if I am looking to create something in my business, in my life, and it growth in any direction, that needs to come from within. So for me, the first person I need to influence, the first person I need to have authority over is myself. Am I being the person that I see myself able to be, that person in that vision where it's all worked out, where my business is rocking, where the people are following, where am I being that person? And how do I act like that now? At that point now, when I'm on social media, when I'm speaking at a summit, something like this, when I'm taking part in live events, what is being perceived by people around me is this energy of a woman who is being what she is deciding to be. That authentic, solid foundation now provides for other people influence. But for me, it's also a motivation, because I can see the ripple effects of what I'm doing within myself and on others. And it pulls me forward closer to what I dream of for my business, for, what's happening in my life. And so I kind of combine all those things together. But, honestly, number one is that, do I know where I'm going? Do I know what I'm trying to create? And if I don't know, create it and then become the person who has that now inside. So that woman who has her business rocking, isn't questioning if she should get on the networking call that's coming. That woman who, has that business and the family life all together knows when to honor her calendar, personal or business. And that's how we operate now. It doesn't mean we need to go out and spend more money or hire people we can't afford. It means, how do I feel? How do I think? How do I make decisions? And start there, and the rest follows. So that's how I work on motivation, on pulling forward, and on being that person of leadership. Yeah.
I love that. You're absolutely talking about leadership, being in the room, and it starts on the soul-led level from within. That is so great. What a wonderful thing to share is that if you're not working what's going on inside, if you're not working with your community and that self-love and that self-leadership, you're going to be exhausted in your business, even in your personal life, right? So go within so you don't go without. Thank you so much. And I'm going to bring up Angelina here. And you guys put in the chat, what does it make you feel? Go ahead and put information in the chat. You're there on LinkedIn, and we've got so many great people on LinkedIn in the chat. Let's see. We have Leanne Stock in there, and we have a few other wonderful people that have popped on in there and saying, "Hey, what's going on? How are you? Thanks for the support." So I'd love to hear from you. How does this make you feel? What does that bring up to you in that way that says, hey, does this really affect my business? A lot of people don't look at that. And Angelina, so the question I have for you is, what creates trust faster with an audience? Polished perfection, and I can't even get that word out right now. And I talk about this all the time, and with my clients, and that they feel for them that they have to be perfect all the time. I got to be right center on the camera, right? But I'm human. I move. I have two screens. So, what say you about being in that authentic connection?
Not being afraid of the sentence, "I don't know." Having the willingness to call forth the intelligence, the leadership, the wisdom of the people that are around you, whether it's your family members or whether it's your team members or whether it's your leadership, your leadership team or your reports. Having the willingness to be curious and removing from yourself and from the system that you serve the pressure to have all the right answers. As you were pointing out, Tawana was talking about the deficit, the connection deficit or the trust deficit, and people don't realize how potent the gift of our attention is. When we have the courage to surrender our open-hearted attention to another human being with the objective to hear them, to see them, to receive them, what that causes in their nervous system is the ability to relax, to trust. And in the absence of that trust, it's very difficult to be effectively influential. You might have the respect of the people that you're leading, at least performative respect. But do you have their confidence that they are welcome to bring their innovation, to bring their own curiosity, to bring their errors? Or are you creating an environment that's causing everybody to go around trying to be perfect and at the same time stifling, at the same time not wanting to be there, at the same time finding it very difficult to actually buy in, just showing up and only bringing what it feels safe to bring? So I kind of covered a whole bunch of places here, but I hope I answered your question.
You did. You did. What this is so great because we all have a different view of what we're doing. And are we trusting ourselves? Are we leading ourselves? Are we working with the community? And how are we building that? And it's not just a one and done. It's a constant change. It's a constant, you motivation gets stuck after a while. Are you being accountable? There's authenticity and true to yourself. But you don't just want to show up like, hey, I'm here shopping at Walmart on the first of the month, right? You're in your pajamas. You want to show up and lead all times. You want to show up and go, hey, I am leading from my insides. I am leading from who I am and leading with everybody else. I'm going to bring up Donna Ricardo here, and I do want to say there's some comments in the chat here. That at work within, right? So you don't go without. It is so wonderful. Don't be superficial, right? We do have to act a little bit different. Sometimes we do have to put our little kind of actress or actor hat on when we get on stage and really show that personality. So let's get into this here. So Donna, let me ask you, how do you personally create meaningful connection through stages or podcasts? I know you teach speakers and you coach people, and that is such a way to connect with people, to bring that inner voice and to shine through your throat chakra and say, hey, you've got a message, you've got a voice. I want you to get out there and go make a sale, go do your business. What does that mean to you to really personally create those meaningful connections?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Nicole. Speakers have something to say, where they have something they want to develop to say, but they have that desire to speak and share what they have to say with others, and usually to make a difference as well. And I think that it can be challenging for a lot of speakers to have that connection with their audience. And a lot of times, I saw this very clearly when I worked with some nonprofits this past fall. They're really great at talking about what they do. So people can be speakers, even can be really great at talking about what they do too. Really great at explaining things and saying what they do and how they do it. But that is not what engages people, and that's not what makes a difference. And that's not how to connect with people. People really, and I think even you already pointed to this, Nicole, even less now do people want more information. There's so much information coming from so many different places that it's going to take something different, especially for speakers. And it's something, as a speaker, we're already doing this. We're sharing stories. We're saying personal things. We're telling stories about other people. We're bringing the humanity to whatever it is we're talking about. That's how we connect. That's how people connect. That's how people connect in life also. Like, from time immemorial, stories and storytelling have been in every culture, everywhere, all around the world, all the time, and will always continue to be, because that's what has people connect to each other in their humanity. So that is, I think, the most important thing about connection is making it real, being authentic. You could say that too, but stories, they should be the authentic stories too. They should be real. Don't be afraid to be real, raw, gritty, and just get down to the heart of things. That's what people want. People are tired of this glossing over things. Everything's being glossed over right now. And I think that it's time for us to go deeper and tell more real life story. You're on mute. Or you're
Orators in the tribe, the orators around the fire. I'm going to have to just reset my mic. So can you guys hear me okay now? All right. Thank you. So those great orators from all around. I want to bring Tawana up here because she really shares the impact of storytelling and people in their business and saying, what does that influence mean for you? So Tawana, let's see here. Glad to see you, friend. How do you lead with heart while still being seen as a strong authority figure? It kind of seems counterintuitive at times, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. And I think we kind of have to realize that a lot of people are a little bit hesitant to lead with their heart, and basically because of maybe previous
situations that they've encountered, especially if you kind of grew up, so to speak, in corporate. You're really taught from an early age, don't share your heart. The downside of that is that, and some of the other folks have alluded to this, Suzanne alluded to it, Donna alluded to it also, is that the desire for meaningful connection has never been higher than it is right now. And the thing about story sharing is it does several things. Number one, it gives people what they want because we know that 68% of consumers say that a story helped them make a purchasing decision. But even beyond that, what you can accomplish in the story sharing, and I do, the story to sales thing, that's my wheelhouse, is you're combining authority with empathy. And you're doing it in a beautifully unique way. We know what it means to have somebody talk authoritative, and we know sometimes you can go lean too far in the area of empathy. But when you can bring those two together and you have something very powerful to say that resonates with your ideal audience, and you can paint a picture in their mind that you're the person that's going to lead them to the ideal outcome that they want, is golden. And you really can't fake that, right? And some of the things I like to tell folks is, look, many of us have been through a whole lot, and some of us really shouldn't even be here, to be quite honest with you, with some of the things that we've endured, or we shouldn't be in the ideal, impactful state that we're in. And those are the kinds of things people want to know. The thing about story sharing that I love so much is it really, I say this sometimes too, it paints you as the Obi-Wan Kenobi, so to speak, or the Obi-Wanita Kenobi, however you want to say it, that people are really looking for, because there's millions of Luke and Linda Skywalkers out there that are really looking for somebody who's gone through the journey, who knows, kind of how to handle the lightsaber, so to speak. And with your story, you are the person that can show them that way. It's beautiful when you really can. And you don't have to share everything. Like, you don't have to share all your dirty laundry, right? You want to be able to do it in a professional way that speaks to your ideal client. You don't want to burn bridges. You want to build bridges. You don't need to talk about trauma. You need to talk about transformation. And there's a professional way to put all those things in order to have an impact. And here's the thing. What's going to make you different from all of the other people? I don't like to say competition so much, because we're all uniquely gifted, right? Like, for instance, Donna is gifted for what she does. Angelina's gifted for what she does. Art's gifted for what he does. And Nicole, you're gifted for what you do. But what's going to make you stand out in the mind of the ideal people that are supposed to work with you, that are designed to come into your world, so to speak? It's your story. It's the authenticity. It's the vulnerability. It's the clarity and all those things. It's the thing that puts the spotlight on you in the mind of your ideal client.
100%, 100%. You want to be in the spotlight. It's so connection. It's all these degrees, maybe even the 6 degrees of separation. How are we connecting to people? What are we doing to drive the connection and truly build the relationships with the world, and what we're doing, how we're doing it, and why we're doing it? And sharing that story is so great. I love to hear stories. I don't know about you guys, if you remember A&E back in the day, where they always had great stories with the biography channel as well. We want to hear that orator out there, the speaker, the person that is sharing these magical moments with us. And so let's go back to social media for a second here. Take the situations that didn't kill you and use them as a foundation. Absolutely, you're alive. You're glad to be alive. People want to hear what happened. They want to hear the journey. How did you get here? What did you do? How did you climb that mountain? and that you climb the mountain, and it's the drama, right? We want to hear that drama because we have felt it. Maybe we can't share it with other people or feel we're ready to share it. But let me bring Mary up here. And Mary, hello, hello. You tell great stories and you let other people share so many impactful stories. And I know we're going to be collaborating on the plot twist coming up to support speakers. I love this because it's speakers who orate a story, who are telling their story in their book, in their anthology. And we have this going on. And it is so great. And I'm just so honored to be part of it in the anthology, but also in the stage, because when you tell the story, it gives a different spark. It gives a different feeling, even just reading a chapter of the book, but coming up here, having publicity. If you don't take the mic and tell your story, nobody's going to know about you, the best kept secret, or the story that you wrote. And for you, when you're working with your community of authors, how do you build influence without turning into one of those rise and grind internet robots? You're building influence in your creator community. How do you do that?
That's such a great question. And I love being a part of this panel because there are so many great people who help people be seen and keep moving forward. And one of the things that I absolutely love is building an economy around yourself. We're talking about sharing our stories, and we are unique, and that has been said already. And the fact is that you can even go farther than just sharing a story about yourself. You can create an entire economy around your unique interests, talents, and experiences. And that's what I love helping people do. One of the things that I really love working with is authors and entrepreneurs who are creating this economy around themselves. And what happens is that they get so stuck in the creation mode of it that they forget to tell anybody about it until they launch it, and then nobody knows. And so what I help them do is get comfortable talking about it as they go, as they build, share what they're doing, share the journey, share their story, tell people who you are and what you're creating, because this is so important for the economy to build and build around yourself. Is share it as you go, because you know what, none of us had it all figured out when we started. Believe me, I did not. And I still am learning along the way. And what a wonderful transformation story to share is how you build it as you go. And so that is something that I teach my clients. I help authors do. I help entrepreneurs do, is not only build the economy, but help share the story of how the economy was built. So that's what I love doing, and that's what I help people do.
And I love that, what you do, because you're so supportive and encouraging, and it's part of your business and it's your brand. Otherwise, you're the best kept secret at all times. Nobody knows about you. Why would they buy your book? Why would they get your book? They want the connection, right? And a book is a great way to establish that. But getting on the mic, turning on the camera, even sharing, chapters to your members about your book, and you're seeding that anticipation of your book. And there's so many people that are so great about seeding their books and selling ahead of time. And it may take a different marketing avenue. But the fact is that how are you getting out there? Are you talking about it? Are you saying, hey, this book will help you in your business, right? This will help you get out there. It will help motivate you. It will transform you. But I'm not only looking for that, but I'm looking for a few takeaways. And I'm going to share those takeaways with you as an author. It's a great tool. And it's a strong tool if you're doing live events as a speaker. Just a little side tip right now is, if you're a speaker and you're at a live event, bring your book, hand it out to people. Don't just look to sell it. You might not be the top dog in the industry coming to the stage, but you can share your book and gift it to people. How wonderful is that? Hey, I want to share that with you. I mean, for me, I'd absolutely exchange a stage, right? There's value in that story, and just the fact that you shared a gift. So let me bring up Colleen here. Colleen, my question to you is, What role does storytelling play in building trust and authority for the audience, for you? I mean, you do this so well. We talk about this all the time, but I just love sharing this, the strength in the storytelling and even the evolution that's happened for you and your business online, the difference that it's made.
I think really when you're involving storytelling, it's building the relatability factor, right? People don't want help from somebody who hasn't been there, right? So I would never go to somebody who's overweight to learn to lose weight. And that's just me personally. I want to go to somebody who's been there. If I were looking to lose weight, I would go find a midlife woman who has been overweight and now is not and understands the journey because I want to learn from her experience. And so sharing those stories, when I interact with my prospects and clients, the thing is that I have 37 years of business building experience, all of these stories to share with them and in ways that I can tell them that I understand, and sharing my story and letting them know that there is another side to it, that you do move beyond that. That's a huge part of it. And I think really just the relationship building, and it's not a one and done. Every stage that we get on, we need to be sharing stories. Every time that we communicate, we need to be building that connection, building that repertoire with them, and just letting them know that we've been there. And I think that is so important. When I started online, I actually had people tell me, don't tell anybody that you live on a farm. Is that the most bizarre? Such a huge part of my life. And so why would I not share that, right? As some of these previous speakers mentioned, you know what? These are the things that make us relatable. The story needs to be real. As Donna said, it needs to be authentic, real stories from our real lives. Because nowadays we want real connections. And the way to build those connections, to build the trust, to gain their trust, and to ultimately have people as clients is by being real with them. And so I think just the stories, I integrate those stories throughout my newsletter every week, throughout emails. When I'm teaching my clients, we use their story as the basis and the foundation for everything that they do in their business. And I think that is how huge it is. That is how huge it is and how important it is that it's real. I will say too that I was reading a LinkedIn post earlier this week, and it said that as you scale, you get bigger problems, right? You're no longer learning to be consistent online. You're no longer learning how to not let leads drop. You're learning how to show up more, how to duplicate the months you've had, and how to level up, and how to train teams and things like that. The last thing that you want to be worrying about after you level up is how you show up. The biggest way to simplify how you show up is to show up real, is to be authentic.
Oh, I love that, right? And people mention so much about their authentic self, but do you know your authenticity? Do you know your little unicorn horn self, right? Do you know that? And for anybody here, whether you're on social media or you just popped in the room, we'd love if you have questions. Anybody in here, if you have questions for the panel, love to share it with you, connect with each other and get to know the speakers. That's what this is for. It's a little taste. It's a little bun. It looks like Dr. Andre had to step out for a minute. And Brazil, if you're available, if you want to come on, I got some questions for you. Welcome, Beth Ann, just coming in here. I love that. Welcome, welcome. You're always welcome to put some information in the chat. But let me get over here. And yes, I know I'm looking away out of my camera. There was some great comments that are in social media. Working with someone who has been there, the value of telling your story of clients know us. They get to know you. They get to build a great relationship with you. What are you doing to build the connection? And the story really defines you. Defines you more, let me tell you, I have this conversation all the time, then where do you live? What is the weather? They're great conversation starters. But are you looking at that? And as a chairwoman of Confronting Domestic Violence, this came up the other day. I teach people about, and I share this, and I'm an absolute advocate of safety. 20 years in law enforcement plus and security, probation, all that fun stuff. You have to be personally safe. Sometimes it's not okay to tell where you're at. So maybe that conversation has to be moved. And the reason I say that is there's other connections we have. And Colleen just nailed that. Tawana nailed that. All these wonderful speakers, Donna, Angelina. You're building your authentic you. You're becoming the leader. You're influencing your audience, and know that there's always a different way to pivot and tell a story or find connection. And if we do that and move from the cookie cutter questions and answers, we are sharing our uniqueness. And that is how you stay authentic. A little bit of few things before we get into some more. We're going to shift a few of the questions here and the way the questions are asked in here, but I do want to state that, Frank King, we are having a masterclass from him. It's about to land and leverage your TEDx stage. So if you really want to know how to fill that crazy format and get from a coach who did stand up, who wrote for Jay Leno, that's Frank King's Land and Leverage Your TEDx Talk. And one other sponsor that I'm going to mention here is Glenn Friesman. He's got the Digital Speaker Agent. It is a digital app that's going to help you move the needle in those applications, because they can take an hour and a half. Why not take 2 minutes? This little machine gets to know you and all about you. And it's a way to get paid to speak. So there's 2 stages, 2 workshops, 2 master classes that are coming up where you can learn how to get paid to speak and find those gigs, because I know people want to do that. So let's shift into a few little fun questions here, and let me go here into who we got next. So let's just go around. You know what? I am going to come to Suzanne here and spotlight you, my friend. I'm so glad you're here. We just recently met, and I love this and your message here. So what's a heel you will absolutely die on as a leader and as an entrepreneur when it comes to encouraging, building relationships, and being a leader in your business?
Oh, a hill I would absolutely die on. I like this question. I think I before becoming a coach, 32 years in high school education, and not just students, but being the leader there. So when there was an issue, in the administration, the teachers coming to my room, Suzanne, what do I do? And I was asked to go into administration, and I never did, because I loved the relationship with my coworkers too much. Needless to say, the hill I would die on from that experience and from working with my clients is I want to build my authority. I want to build my leadership. I want to build my influence on the fact that every human being is worthy and has value. And to never forget that, and to encourage others to remember it within themselves. And I just have to say that so many of us feel small, we feel less than, we feel fearful in going into new situations, into new jobs, into new positions, into a different stage in our lives. And for me, that's the biggest thing that I lead from, is that, a small story. You're talking about story. Our son and his wife just had a little baby, and he's 6 weeks old. And our son is that person who has his list of what he will do every day. He's a marathon runner. He's an athlete. He's a videographer. He loves his wife. He has helping on the list. He has all these things. And I've said, hey, tell me about your list. Does it still look the same since your son was born? No, I've changed it. Tell me how it's changed. Well, I've lessened how much I've run, but do you still do everything else? Yes. Is it okay for you to accept yourself as growing into a new position? To allow yourself that grace, to know that it's worth the time to say, maybe I'm going to work out or run, not both. And so leading him to, and he's tearing up. He's going, how can I do that? I said, you can do that. You're worth it. Sam needs a dad who knows what comes first, right? His son. He's like, oh, and he sits back, and that leading from that, you are worth it. You are worth putting yourself first in a way that makes things work for you personally or business wise. And that's my hill to die on. I teach from it all the time, and I lead from it, and I am it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Yes. Yes. You're worth your change, and keep going through your list and growing. And oh my gosh, what a wonderful thing. Now the grandma, how wonderful is that? And to say, hey, life has changed. What's happened, right? And you can change and focus And for your son to have such a support system in you to bring that legacy, to change that story, to pivot and turn, and you're not only changing your community as a soul led leader, but you're changing your family, you're building the legacy, and that's the relationship that we constantly through all the time. And let me bring up here, I want to bring back on this one. Let me see here. Let me go to on my screen, flipped a little bit. So let me bring Angelina in here, just going around that. Angelina, what is perhaps one, maybe two business trends that you would just secretly, well, now publicly, can say that you would wish would just disappear in leadership for people?
Be authentic. And what I have seen is a trend of people performing authenticity. And it's so painful. And the thing that's behind that is that we've gone through a lot. As a civilization, we are carrying a lot. We've experienced a lot of trauma, and emotional trauma and all that kind of stuff is kind of baked into how we human as people who live in the West. And so when it comes to being authentic and having this background of sort of internalized, systemized shame, guilt for things that we're not even sure why it's there. We just don't even know why it's there, but it's definitely there. And so what we will do is we will create this mask that's actually made out of the stuff that is ourself. But we'll put this front up, and then we will perform ourself. We will perform authenticity. And the thing that is driving that isn't that the person isn't there. It's that there is something inside of themselves that believes that they're not enough, that has some kind of thing that they think that they need to hide, that if they were to share or be honest about, it would make it so that people wouldn't like them or wouldn't want to stay connected with them. And that is something that's happening. All of us have to negotiate this. Every single one of us have to negotiate this kind of thing every day. And how to not do that, to not collapse into perfectionism or people pleasing or controlism or all of those things that we know are just kind of like there and we don't know why they're there, right? And again, it's this systemized shame and guilt about what we don't even really actually know, but we do know that they're there, that causes this. So how do we get around performing authenticity is something that I'm really personally, it's not like I haven't done it. I definitely have. But it was in recognizing that I was doing that, actually because I was seeing other people do it and then going, oh, I'm right. So yeah, that would be the one thing, because we're hungry to get to be ourselves, and we're hungry to be seen and known. And at the same time, we can't be if we are afraid to share the truth of who we are and what we've been through and what we're holding, what we're carrying, how we've blown it is something that I'm really personally, it's not like I haven't. Definitely have. But it was in recognizing that I was doing that. Yeah. And then going, oh, I'm right.
You really hit that on the head, I think, with that, saying, hey, I recognize that I did that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Hey, just be your authentic self, be who you're meant to be, right? But are you showing up or just repeating? Are you rinsing and repeating, right? What are you saying? Does it seem to just kind of be one of those hashtags that's everybody else is saying? What are people really, really doing? So I want to bring you up next with this question here. to say, for you in a business and building your brand authority, you need to be on the stage, you need to be seen and heard. And that's truly leadership, taking the ball and rolling with it, where you understand what's maybe one thing that you think people underestimate about building authority for you.
I'm not trying to build authority as much as I am introducing people to what their weaknesses are. People are saying, I'm young and I'm healthy. I can deal with this later. The problem is you can't deal with it later. You need to deal with it now. I want to be the go-to person. Yes, I do want some authority to help introduce people to protect themselves and their family or their business in the easiest possible way. People just go through life and I can deal with it later. Unfortunately, I'm on the mailing list of a bunch of different religious organizations in my community, and I see every week passed away prematurely of cancer, of an accident, of something, and the family needs help now. And that I don't like to see. I like to help people sleep better at night. So is my authority that I want to help people? Maybe. Maybe that's the thing I do best, is I help people avoid disaster.
You do, and I think this is great, and it brings maybe even into deeper thought and question is, what does authority look like to you? You are the authority, that you're trusted, that you're the leader, and people can come to you. So if we kind of devalue it, I see sometimes that people want that. They want somebody that's going to guide them. They want the mentor, the shaman, right? The coach. Who's the leader in their industry? Not just, hey, let me go to Tony Robbins or someone like that, or hey, I want to be the podcaster Joe Rogan. Maybe there's a line or some type of business plan that you have to do that you're looking at kicking up your YouTube channel. You want to build authority in that way. Maybe you want to be number one, but with that defined passionate purpose and that why in your life, you are building your authority within and leading yourself and leading people. And this is all about the influence. And this is the influence that is for the authority code is we influence people want a leader. They want somebody strong that they can look for, a mentor to bring them up, to maybe hold space for them, to support them. And who's going to do that with all the strength? Yeah, later has an unknown timestamp. Go ahead, Art.
When I have a rabbi come to me after making a condolence call, calls me up from outside the home and says, keep doing what you're doing. And I'm trying to figure out what he's talking about. And he explains to me, he just paid this condolence call on a family where the woman was 39 years old in this case. She just passed away from breast cancer. And he went to the husband to pay his condolences and said, what are you going to do now? And the husband must have said something to the effect of, well, thank God Art Blazer helped us buy life insurance when we had our first child. This was the third child. He suddenly had 3 young children that he had to take care of, but he also had life insurance money for his wife from his wife's passing that enabled him to hire a nanny to watch the children on the days he had to go to the office. When I get told, keep doing what you're doing, I figure I must be doing something right.
100% on that. You are doing it right. You are the trusted person in the community, and people know that they can come to you. They know that they can trust you with their journey that's going on with their family, and that you're not just there to sell them a product. You're selling the service, your heart. You're building community and community trust. And this is so much even with for cause marketing in business is saying, hey, a percentage can go here or I can volunteer. Maybe you're making money and you take a day off, you take every Thursday off and you go volunteer somewhere. That is changing your community. You can do that if you set your business up and you've delegated tasks, set up automation, or even come in and said, hey, I'm going to take this day off. You're making that money. So you can do that if you're looking at that time for money, and it's marketing. So if we start to change a pivot just a little bit in our minds of what we do. So let me bring this question to Mary right here. What's your favorite way to build genuine connection with your audience?
Well, one, I have to show up. I have to be authentic, like we were all talking about, but actually be authentic, be myself. I love sharing. I have a Facebook group, I have a YouTube channel, I have a podcast, and so I use all of those media to connect with my audience and share stories and share who I am. But I really do love reaching out one on one and getting to know the person behind the profile, right? Because we can assume that we know who people are, but until and unless we actually reach out and make a connection, a human connection with them, we're never going to really get very far with them. And it's not about sales, it's about learning who other people are. And I do have to say that I have built really strong bonds with a few of the people in this space right here, Colleen and Nicole especially. And that didn't happen overnight. It happened over time, and it happened over actually being able to go out, reach out, learn something about one another, and bring the connection and the relationship beyond the room we met in, right? And I think that is my favorite way of reaching out, is getting to learn more about my clients, getting to learn more about my prospects. And I think that's the number one way to do it.
Well, 100%, 100%. And if you're moving and grooving and you're sharing with your audience, you're building the connection, and you do this so well with books, with meetings, you got a radio show, and you're just out there in that community, and we can build community virtually, but we can go meet people and have them personally and say, hey, I got to know you now and get to see the real you. And I saw this comment that you made about someone. I want to say this because I love this, that you got on a call with someone for a coffee chat and they marveled that you look like your profile picture because you were human and you show up beautifully all the time and you look exquisite, but you're real, you're human. They're not getting that, hey, I got to swipe left or right. I don't know, you guys. I don't know which way you swipe for no good, right? You're not putting that fake picture avatar up there. You're human all the time, right? That's how you build authority.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't build authority on something that will crumble.
No, no, you can't. No, you can't. But I think it's great. It's real. It's raw. Talk about authenticity, right? Hey, we can be authentic and say, hey, what WWE song would you walk out on stage with before the big fight? It's your thing, right? I think it's fun being on the stage, being that person, being in that SmackDown. What are you doing? It might not be your thing, right? I like eggs and bacon for morning. Maybe somebody likes a smoothie. I don't know. Everybody's a little bit different. But when we start to have the conversation, then we find out the truth. And if you're only answering and canceling yourself before you speak, what's going on there, right? I mean, there's rubes you get into and there's conversations you have with people. There's good things, there's politeness, and we have kind of forgotten about that. But don't really cancel that. There may be a way that you can share that story in a different tone and style that will hit for that group. I think that's great. When we're talking about authority, Colleen, if leadership had a warning label, and you've been in leadership in the community, on the virtual space as well, if leadership had a warning label, what would it say?
I think it would say they're watching. That's the only warning label you get. And I say this, when I had a little confrontation with a gentleman, an older farmer. I'll just say this. I drive like a bat out of hell. I pay a lot of money for vehicles that go really fast. It's my thing. I love driving fast. I pay my own insurance, pay cash for my vehicles. I do not put other people in harm's way. If you know where I am, there are maybe 11 cars a day that I see, maybe on a good day. So for me to drive fast where I am is not a big deal. But I had a gentleman pull out behind me on my drive to work one day years ago, and my car had my logo all over it. And he followed me into my business. Like, I see you driving that fast. What are you doing? And I'm like, got good insurance and I love to drive fast. But it just says people are watching. They're always watching. Another time, quick story I'll share with you. But before I do that, I want to say, Mary, on what you said, I met Nicole and she is everything in person that she appears online. There's this, met her in Florida and went on a road trip with her. So that was super fun. Another instance, I was hours away from my home ordering out of Starbucks, and a young girl in her 20s came running up and she's like, "Oh my God, you're the Chicken Lips lady. I'd know your voice anywhere," because she'd heard all my commercials. These people are watching. And I'm like, my name's Colleen. So they get my name right on coffee, right? But people are watching. That's the warning label that comes, is that they're watching. There is 0 point and 0 progression made when you are not showing up real. You need to just be you. And I have gotten on many calls where the very first question I ask when I get on calls with people is, "Hey, tell me about you." And so many times people want to very first deflect and reflect back to business. Here's the truth of it. If I like you as a person, once I get to know you, it doesn't matter what your business is. I will find a way to sell that for you. Whether I'm buying it or I'm promoting it to somebody else, I need to have that connection with you. And so as a leader, the warning label says this: they're watching. You're muted, Nicole.
They are watching. They are watching. They are watching. Yep. Just got to give it a second here. People are watching, right? They are watching what you do, and you want to build connection. There's just different ways to build connection. And are you listening to what people are saying when you're building the connection? Or are you doing cookie cutter stuff where you're not being authentic, you're not being unique, you're not allowing the person to answer the question and trying to control the entire thing, right? Where somebody sits, where they look at the camera, where they're going, or just having a one-to-one conversation. This isn't going live. This right now is going live, but perhaps that one-to-one conversation is not going live. So let's connect. And if we truly want to connect, we have to accept people where they're at. Hey, can I offer you a suggestion? As a host, as a content creator, you may want to try this. Just notice that. There's a way that you connect, and I know Mary's so good at this as well, is that there is a way that you connect where you ask a question, you let people answer it. And you don't dime them out for answering the way they are. But maybe, just maybe, if it's not the answer, and I learned this in investigations focus, if it's not the answer that you're looking for, maybe it's a question you asked. Because they're good investigators and ask the questions sometimes that they know the answer to. And just because you think that's your answer doesn't mean that that's their answer. They're not going to add it the way. So let's remember that we're building connection, finding love. And oops, something just knocked my camera off. Okay, that's okay. Or my lighting. I love that. It does come with a warning label, doesn't it, sometimes? And if something can happen, it will happen. So just so you know, in life as well in business and on the virtual space, if it can happen, it will happen. So what's the funniest in Brazil? If you're here, friend, I think she had to leave. Oh, she did. Okay. I was hoping that she'd be able to have a second and come off camera. But I think she had to go back to her business. Sorry about that. And Dr. Andre, I know I saw him earlier, but haven't heard from him. He popped in. I hope his connection's okay. So let's talk about this. And I want to ask Donna, because I know, Donna, you've spoken and you've been at events. What is like something just kind of maybe funny or a little bit weird that you've experienced, but has taught you not only about stages, but building relationships that maybe you've experienced at events that's really stuck with you and said, hey, maybe I should look at this a little bit differently than I thought it should go that way?
Probably we could say the weirdest thing that's happened is early on when I first just had the desire to speak. I didn't even know what I was going to speak about or what I wanted to speak about or what I even had to say. But I had a great opportunity and I didn't know that I was going to completely freeze. I froze. I went mute, and I had to leave the stage. Like they had to take the microphone from me, right? And So I realized that maybe this is something I have to learn. If I want to speak, I need to know how to speak. And so that was a big eye opener to have had that happen. And there wasn't really much I could do. Kind of tuck my tail and slink off. So yeah.
But how has that changed for you when you're like, hey, I'm teaching other speakers and I'm working with other speakers? It's such a life lesson that you can laugh about now and just be like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, these are the things you need to know, because not everybody wants to give us a chart or a list of what goes on backstage. Like, hey, my light just fell. Oh, well, it happens. And I do that because it's like, okay, I couldn't control that. I didn't cause it. I didn't reach over there and say, hey, I'm going to throw this across the room and make this big noise. But not everybody talks about that. We going back to that perfection question. We can't be perfect all the time, and we have to be ready. What has it taught you, and what do you love to share with your clients about that?
Let's see. Well, I did go out and learn. I did a lot of different things, including personal growth, even spiritual growth, personal development. I did a lot of different things to be able to speak confidently. And other things happened as well. Not gonna get into that now, but other what I would call disastrous, epic failures also happened. So there's between that and the training and the experience I've had between then and now, there's very little that somebody can bring to me that I can't help them with, or at least, or if I can't help them, have a resource because I know the kinds of things that they are likely to be struggling with once I talk with them, and I can always refer them to someone else.
100%, 100%. And you can refer them out, or you can know people, and it's something that's taught you, and it's a way to influence people and to really build into that leadership and authority, even online, because people know that they can trust you. It's hard to trust people online. It is, it is, it is. Okay, so let me go back here. I want to bring up for this question. So, art, for you, what does it mean for you coming online and trying to really build the trust and influence influence an audience, influence your community online as you come more online and we do more business online and there's all that text out there? How do you feel that it really is? What's the key? Do you know? What can you share in your business and your experience? It helps you really build more trust with people.
I actually prefer to meet people in person. It just to me is a more realistic. If I do it online, it's by Zoom or by the iPhone, to have FaceTime, because speaking to people and seeing their reaction is a lot better for building trust than doing it all over the internet with emails and back and forth that way. I'm definitely an in-person type person. As far as promoting the business, I haven't had as much success as I would like doing online with LinkedIn, for example. There's so much out there, you don't even know how they're filtering your stuff and how much of your material is getting to other people. They claim to have millions of members, but how many of them actually see what it is that you post or you do? I would much rather say to somebody, call me, let's do this face to face and deal with you, not with a million other people, because they're not you. So I'm, in that regard, I'm not so sure all these multi-million publications really are as effective as they claim they are.
No, because you can buy them, right? So it seems there's a lot into it. And that's how we bring the trust back, right? How do we bring the trust online, knowing that we do have to leverage, right? We do have to leverage that authenticity onto a virtual stage, going into virtual reality, moving forward. That's what's coming. But we have to establish those connections. Not everybody can make it online. I loved meeting Colleen in person. We got to spend some time together, share some stories over dinner, get to know each other, work together live and in
And
person.
that's why you have trust with her.
Mhm.
Talk to her.
But I talked to her before getting to know her in person. So that was it. That was really it. And it's learning how to key up to people's answers and who they are. Right. Beth Ann says, art connection with me. I can give you some referrals. She's got some referrals to you. I love that. She wants to connect with you. That's amazing. Thank you, Beth Ann. Beth Ann, you still have your podcast. I hope if you do and you're looking for people, it's a great place to get listed. I'll share that with you as well. Now, I want to come to Angelina here. For you, it's kind of like when we're looking at this, how do you keep your audience engaged when whether you're talking in a networking room or you're live or you're in here, because you don't have to be a circus performer, right? That's the real influencer. You're not getting all the bots. You're not putting that out there, whether you go live or you're just in a room with people. How do you building that trust?
I love asking questions. Like, what are you doing with this thing that we're talking about right now? How are you using your attention today? Where have you been using your curiosity? When you place your attention really solidly with another human being, what do you notice? What can you feel they notice? Having curiosity is basically like opening a pipeline between yourself and the person who's in front of you. There are many different flavors of attention, and most of us get caught up in the habit that we learned a long time ago and practiced a lot of times to use our attention in a judgeful way. And when we are using it and pointing our attention in a judgeful way, either outwardly or inwardly, it shuts down our curiosity. It makes us feel like we need to protect. And the possibility for connection can't occur. When we're asking questions, however, especially when we're truly genuinely expressing interest in the other person and who they are and what they're up to and how they move, people love to want to be known. They love to be seen and to be received. And so if they feel like you're inviting them to share themselves, they want to fill they want to fill your cup. And you having that curiosity makes it possible for that empty cup to be filled with them. Connection is inevitable when this occurs.
Oh, wow. Yes. They want to be loved. They love to be loved. Don't we all want to? We're all a little bit attention deficit right now. We need the attention. We need to build the trust, but let's not jump into the attention. And that is the difference between being the influencer and your cute little bikini selling coffee on the corner. It's great when you're 20. It's kind of like living in your van, right? That's a great life for you, having fun then. But as we grow and we're doing our business and we want to be a little bit more professional on our influence, there's a smaller community out there. And what is that community looking for? So virtual events are a great way to do that. Workshops are a great way. Not only are you working and solving for solutions for people, you're sharing with them how to, the tips and tricks and how it really looks. Maybe how you're doing stuff behind the scenes. Maybe there's a little water cooler talk you share with an employee or a partner or collaborator that you're like, gee, I wish the world would hear this, but I can't get that message out in a 2-minute, a 1-minute, or a 30-second networking group. And everybody else is talking about, being a pet whisperer when I want to talk a little bit more about business or maybe connect. I love that. Good for you. That's great. It serves Cesar Millan well. Absolutely. But we have to remember those variables of listening and truly loving that. And yes, we all judge. We are meant to do that as humans, but what way are you using it for to judge where people are going in the conversation? That's a good spot to start. That's a healthy way to do that. So yes, and I want to bring Stephanie. Welcome, Stephanie. Dr. Stephanie just was able to pop in. I'm so glad you're here. We had an amazing conversation a few times, and I love this. And what makes somebody memorable to you when you're talking about building trust, being in the room with somebody, even on this virtual space and influencing that says, you know, please, you don't want them to mute the mic forever, right? We
Mhm.
want them to share their story and to share and be in their voice, be 100% them, lead from within, be on that soul led level, you know, instead of like, oh my gosh, please mute your mic or I want to mute you. We've all had those moments like, oh, are we in the same room together? Are we having that same conversation? And saying that sometimes I think it's being in love and saying like, hey, maybe there's something we're missing, trying to change the conversation. But how do you do that? Well, for you, for influencing your audience and the people that are in the room with you, what is a good way to move forward and to really give them that moment when they're on the mic and they have that moment to chat with you?
This is such a great question. And I apologize for being late. I was actually recording my own podcast and had to jump on after this. So thank you for being gracious and allowing me to jump in. But whenever you are building your influence as a leader, I think it starts with connection. And I've heard a couple of the others share information along the same lines, but it is all about connection. Real quickly, my mother was a welcome wagon lady when I was a kid, and I don't know if anybody knows what that was, but she was the person that welcomed all the people into the neighborhood and our community, and I watched her connect with people, making them from strangers into friends in the matter of minutes, and that was a gift, and I lived with that, and I learned it. She was also a 40-year, high school teacher, and she just connected with everyone around her. And so I've learned that when most places are focused on policies and procedures, we really need to focus on the people instead. Because if you focus on the people, you get to know the individuals, you understand where they come from, you know, their likes, their dislikes, their kids, their dreams, everything about them. Then when you connect, they are so willing to share more with you. They're so willing to do things for you. They're so willing to realize that you value them. And when that happens, the trust increases, the accountability increases. They want to work for you and they want to stay. And that just makes a whole team culture and a team aspect. So I would have to say, hands down, it is all about connection.
Oh, hugely. Well, I guess a welcome wagon lady is now the Walmart people greeter, right? It's not the same effect, right? It's like, hey, how's it going, right? There's ones I mean remember years ago when you're in there, it's not just when you're going shopping at the mall and someone's like, hey, because they get paid to say it. It's that
Mhm.
enthusiasm and that really heartfelt, I love you. I want to know more about you. And this is what you do so well, which I see in the conversations that we have and watching you is that sharing the story first. So you
Mhm.
open people, you entice people with what you have. So somebody you can guide somebody to the answer that you're looking for. This is a fantastic way to say, hey, now where were you on the night of the 27th? With it's coming in and they're in it's an inquisition and you're like, what crime did I commit? I'm on a one-to-one call with you, right? We've all had that moment.
Yeah.
Saying this to people and sharing this that, hey, if you lead me with, hey, my mom was the welcome wagon lady and I want to continue that. What do you do to welcome people in? What do you think about that, right? Now I have a story. Now I have a connection. Now I have a relatability and I'm guided to where you want me to go, right? And that is so great. That's so great. And it's because I've got you here now. I want to ask you another question. So, for you, what is it that you're seeing online for influence? We talked to you, did a lot of live, a lot of one to one, very connected in what you have done in your business and your career. When you see that moving forward, I mean, you're even using podcasting to build a brand, to answer questions, to connect with people. What do you
Mhm.
see as the different pivot in bringing influence online and influencing your audience to bring them in and to keep them there?
So I've always been in the leadership space. And whenever you talk about leadership, people assume that means a title or a position. And I've always shifted it saying that leadership is all about influence. And it's the way that you are sharing your message. It's the way that you're treating others. It's the way that you are having an outlook on what's around you. There's so much negativity in the world, no matter where you look. There's so much negativity and there's so much noise, whether it's on social media or whether it's in your own community or in your own space. And so, whenever you're talking about influence, I always want to look at it from the positive manner. How can we influence positively? Because you can influence negatively, but how can we influence positively? And somebody made a comment about my name. My name is Dr. Stephanie Duguid. So Duguid is my last name. I just used it for Do Good Leadership. And so I love that's a great name to have for one, but it also gives me an opportunity. One, that's the icebreaker. And then two, people say, "Oh, I know you do good," jokingly. And I said, I actually do. So what do you want to do good? And somebody shared a message recently that said, well, that's not grammatically correct. It should be do well. Do well is for the individual person. Do good is how you influence others. So I always want to challenge people. How are you going to do good? When you see things that are negative, how can you shift that to see what the opportunity is? Or when you experience something that you feel is a failure, what is the lesson you've learned? So I feel that the influence you bring is about the perspective you bring and the energy that you bring to any scenario. And that is what influences your audience to move forward, whether it's working with you, whether it's working with somebody else, whether it's, in an adjacent space. But my whole goal is it's not about me. It's not about me or what I can do or how I can serve. It's about how can I support you and how can I serve you to empower you to be the best you that you can be.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And if that doesn't make you show up for the next 2 days and come listen to Dr. Stephanie and do a little good yourself and move that energy and bring you back into that and learn a little lesson. And these are little tidbits we're having just by having conversation and influencing people to think, maybe critically think or go, oh, wow, I didn't think about that, right? What can we do to really do good? And I love that you branded that name. And it's like, hey, I'm going to take advantage of what I got. It's
Yeah.
all about leveraging that and branding. What is that? How are you leveraging that? How are you using that? And how are you changing? People want to get on their soapbox and rant all the time, and they're so stuck in survivor mode. What are you doing as a mentor to move the needle? How are you doing this today? Like, hey, I want to go out into the community. I use For a Cause marketing. I'm changing this because this is my passion. I'm the chairwoman. This is what I'm doing. I made a commercial for them. But that's for me to share with those people to be able to have that. What are you doing? I love to see that with my audience. I love to see and know that with the speakers here. For me, it's I get to know you. It's my way to get to know you. It's my way to talk to you, to have a conversation, to, move a little bit, get in there, just to sink in a little bit deeper, right? So, Mary, I want to bring this one to you because you do this so well. How do you keep your personality alive in the world without being like fully robotic? Oh my gosh. Like Lynn, if you guys don't know, Lynn does this so well. She's just her, she shows up. For those of you who have marketed with her, and we know those people that just have real personality, and you do this so well. You're you. And it says that even in the picture when you commented on that you're real, you're authentic.
Yeah, well, I can't be anybody else. I can't. I mean, I help people live into their ideal self and to the ideal self-image of the person they're looking to become through my work as a Procter Gallagher consultant. And what that really does is I've done this for myself is to really just feel comfortable with myself. You have to feel one worthy. You have to feel that you are that you have something to say, that you have something valuable to share, and you have to trust who you really are on the inside. You have to trust yourself, and that's really what it comes down to is learning who I really am and embracing that. And the other thing is you can't care what everybody else thinks about you because that will stifle you and your message and how you feel all the time, 100%. If you are focused on, oh, I hope that person likes me. Oh, I hope that happened. I hope that I get this sale. You're not even operating from within. You're operating from the outside. So being authentic to me is operating from the inside out. And I have learned to do that over the years. And I absolutely wouldn't turn back.
I love
That's the way I do it.
Yeah. Being you, yeah. And so well said, hey, I can only be me, can't be you. And I've tried. I've tried to fit in that cookie cutter and just kind of escaped each time I'm the square, the square peg in the round hole. How do you do that? How do you get that in there? Can't shove it in there. But also knowing the difference of, are you forcing yourself on other people? So it's good to ask yourself that question every now and again. Am I forcing myself on you? Do I need to tell you that? Do I have to answer everything? Do I have to patronize you and mother you and tell you everything? That's not what we're looking at in influencing. People don't need that. They have a parent, they have a family member. What they're looking for is true mentors that can really influence, move the needle, and share with them the how. And that's what this is all about. There, that goes one more time. So we're just going to move that and keep that there. So let me bring up Suzanne. Hey, Suzanne. All right. So when people try to build authority, especially being on the stage, connecting, what do you feel may be something that hinders them? That's more of a mistake and a hindrance instead of pushing the needle, moving the needle to bring them the clients, the audience, and the team that they can really lead.
Well, honestly, I would instantly say authenticity. We've spoken about that a lot today, and I truly believe that that is up there. The other thing that we've talked about is storytelling. The one thing that I see within those two that really sadly help us disconnect from our audience, no one is chiming in, is that when we're talking about what we do, we're being too general. So if I'm a leader and I'm trying to tell people how to help others, I just skim the surface and talk about, well, in general, we do it this way, we operate this way. We're not actually engaging. No one's going to be listening to us, and we can lose everyone who's listening. The minute someone says, well, once, this is awful. My husband was leader of the school district custodial team. So, 50 sites, 160 employees. And he was called for some help at an area. And the custodian called him in and said, someone came and picked up all their dog poop in their yard and put it in this outdoor garbage can. And I just can't lift the bag. Can you help me? Now, if my husband was teaching about how to maintain, it's everyone's job to do this. You got to do the best that you can. It doesn't really matter what's in the garbage bin. It's up to you to deal with it. Okay, got it? Who's listening? But if he said, so by the way, there was this bag and it was filled with dog poop, what I want you to know is the bags that I buy for you are 100% rip proof. We lifted that out of there. It was full. It was over 200 pounds and that bag did not rip. And that job had to be done. And we did it even if it took help. So now we're engaging. It is that storytelling. It is bringing ourselves to that level of being memorable and making sure that people hear us. Had he just said, do the job, it's kind of gone. So I guess what I'm saying is we have talked about that today with that storytelling and stuff, but a lot of people still see that getting personal as a waste of business time, a waste of meeting time. And thank you, Art. It is the last thing that it is. People love to know why. And then they're going to have that silly story in their head the next time they're faced with that type of situation. And they're going to know exactly what to do, who to listen to, who to call. Even if it's a personal story, I think it was Tawana who was saying, transformation, not trauma.
Yeah.
So when all we do is share our trauma, people don't love to remember that. But if we share it briefly, followed by our transformation, now they're remembering that. And so that, we don't want to lose that. We don't want to lose our listeners. We don't want to lose our clients, but knowing where to draw that line between interest and gathering attention and overdoing it. And, staying too general is one of them, and going way too into the drama is another. So I think I would stop there.
Yeah, and that's great. And that point is they don't want to do the trauma. So when we were coaching for the domestic violence summit, it was, hey, we want to share that stickiness, kind of rip that Band-Aid off pain point, but we do want a loving solution. And if it's something that's going to trigger you, yes, sometimes there's speeches and yes, there's stories where you're going to cry a little bit, but you don't want to hurt people, right? You don't want to bring such a pain that they are like so triggered to leave, right?
Yes.
We got to remember that. And that's that getting on your soapbox, banging your drum all the time. You had to listen to me. You got to listen to me. You got to listen to me. Where when someone offers a solution, are you listening? And that's so much with a virtual space because people can leave quickly. They can leave easily. They won't stay. They won't ask questions. They won't engage. And that's the thing. And speaking of engagement, I see some wonderful connections going on in this room, and I love that. And I hope you all connect with each other. You're all aligned. You're all looking for that leadership, community building connection. So let me bring this up for, Colleen, this is a question I have for you. And I know you've got this one. What's one thing you think the audience really secretly wants more from leaders instead of people being like, oh gosh, don't be a leader. Don't be strong, right? Let me just wither away. What do they secretly want from leaders?
I think they want the truth. I think that we are tired of hearing pie in the sky claims. I think they want real truths. I have clients say to me, okay, if I do all these things, is it going to work? Am I going to reach my goals? And the truth of the matter is, I can't ever tell anybody that because your success is dependent on the work that you put in. So I can give you tools. I can give you strategies. I can share with you what's worked for me, what's worked for other clients, but how you choose to implement that is always on you. And I think that it's so important as leaders that we remember that it's not inspiration we're selling. It's not, we're not here to just paint this pretty picture. People need the real, honest truth. And a lot of times it's just not pretty. It's saying to people, I've had people say, I do that. I do it 3 times a week or twice a week. And I'm like, okay, well, that isn't consistent enough. Or you're not doing that enough. You have to be real. You have to be brutally honest. And you don't want to hurt people's feelings. It doesn't need to be on a personal level, but it needs to be on a truthful level. This is what I've done this many times to see this result. Let's not put in little words like we need to show up consistently and then we'll get this result. Let's say you need to show up consistently to get this result. When I say consistently, I showed up 5 times a day for 3 months before I got any response. Let's be brutally honest. Let's not sugarcoat it. And let's not make it a soft, pillowy walk. Let's just tell it how it is with care and concern and in a way that lets them know that it is possible because you've also done this or other people have done this and show them the journey and the path. But I think that what people want is they want the truth as from leaders. We're so tired. Everywhere we look, it's this pretty truth. It's what people want to hear. They're like, oh, let me alter the truth a little bit so you want to hear it. No, that's not it.
That is true for lack of better anything else. And it's hitting the nail on the head. I know when I first got into this business, and I've seen it with other people, and I use this as an example to say, hey, I know and I feel you. When I was so lied to. It's even in a healer coaching community. I got into the healer community as a Crystal Reiki master, and I got lied to. And I saw that with the people I was working with. I changed into my speaking business and starting to do the online entrepreneur stuff and realized that I was again getting lied to, and I was paying people for that. I was paying people to lie to me, and I didn't even feel good inside. I just thought, okay, I'll give it a try. And it's worth giving a try, but when we're constantly lied to that someone's going to be there every Wednesday, when we're constantly lied to that, hey, I didn't put any of the work in, but doesn't it sound good because it works on YouTube? Not really. So what are you looking at and how do you change? The virtual space is so different. The virtual space is different how you work and how you can see and know people and look into that energy and feel that truth that you do navigate it and working with people one-to-one and in live, real, into the space is different connection. So it's learning on how to grow, right? Absolutely, absolutely. So much has changed and what we're doing right now, and how are we building the trust, and how are we building that, and being vulnerable at the same time. You want to be a leader, you want to be strong, you got to be vulnerable. There's this wicked balance, but you don't want to hide that behind the scenes. That doesn't mean you have to tell everything. And there are certain things you can keep quiet about it. Don't make it feel like you're at the Walmart checkout on the first of the month. I'm just saying, I don't have to know all that about you. I love you, but I don't need to know that. But people know, they will sniff it out. They'll do the sniff test, right? Are you true about this? That doesn't ring right. Maybe have a deeper conversation with people sometimes. Sometimes that's the other thing too, is maybe get on a call. And I see many of you getting on a call now with each other and saying, hey, I want to build that. I want to get that trust. I want to refer you. I want to talk to you. I want to get to know you. I love that. I love that. Let's look at this. So, Angelina, let me bring you up for this one and say, hey, what's your secret sauce for building a community when it's so heavy online?
Building a when you say it's so heavy online, what are you pointing to?
We are so dependent online on building a community, data driven analytics, right? And it's not the same as the personal space. You don't have necessarily a place, warm, inviting place for people to come to. It seems like, getting away from going to visit somebody in their shop, in their boutique. Now we're online. For you, how does that work with that change? And we're building communities online. That doesn't mean that you have to go out and buy the bots. That doesn't mean you can do it, but are you getting a healthy balance of live and bot? That, like, the LinkedIn algorithm has changed so much because they wanted to stop the heaviness of the bots. And what did they do? The way they blocked you out as a human, they changed the algorithm. So I get more bots now than I ever did. In other countries that are, or in communities that I have kind of no relationship building chance in there. So I have to go outside and bring people back into my community because it's changed so much. What's your secret sauce for building and nurturing and thriving and influencing people online?
So it's the same secret sauce as it is in the 3D world, which is being proactive about being in touch, in connecting and engaging, having conversations in the online space. It takes more. It takes more time, partially because there is so much space. Like it's not like your physical 3D town where there's a finite number of people and a finite number of people who are looking for your special sauce or your secret sauce or whatever. Now you have an ocean of people. So being in conversation, connecting, reaching out, doing one-on-ones, expressing curiosity, and having the tenacity to be consistent, because it takes more time for people to have trust. I put together a course. It's a 2.5-year course. We finish in November. So we just completed 2 years as a group. And it took me, it's all online. It's all virtual, right? We meet once a week. We meet for a couple of hours. It took me about 4 months to create this community of what started out to be 15 people. And it was a series of multiple conversations with every one of these people, some of them who I was already connected with in different ways, some of whom were totally new in my life and came as a result of being referred because of the nature of the content of this course. And so it's the same, but I think you have to turn up the volume on having the tenacity, because you don't just bump into each other online like you would bump into each other on the street, right? So that's what I've got for you on that one.
Yeah, I think that well said. And sometimes you can bump into each other in a networking room, right? In a sense, right? It's different. Like, hey, I remember you good person. I was just thinking about you or something like that. Or, hey, I'm glad it was in line. So we can look at it that way. I think that's so good. And here's something I want to share with people, a little nugget is right now, YouTube is actually supporting creators. So when we're talking about building influence, some of this came from that is if you are a creator, if you are going live, even if you're collaborating off someone else's channel and you're utilizing and sharing their content, you are part of that growth. So if you're all here and sharing that or replying, getting in the social media, we're moving the needle with everything. And people go and look at your stuff and they reply and they see who's in your community. That's part of that. That's part of that moving the needle. That's part of the engagement. And since YouTube is doing that, so if you're putting out shorts or you're going live or maybe you script something and pre-record it, if you're putting it out there, YouTube is pushing the little person's content. So if you feel like the little person out there, that's okay. Great. You're the person that they're pushing the needle with. And that's why this is so needed right now in the community to say, hey, how do I move the needle? How do I influence my audience? I'm so against the wall, or maybe you built your own wall because you feel there's so much out there. Find another creator that you like, find a mentor and start looking at that. That's not you're not going to be the expert just from a few YouTube videos, but it is going to give you a way, just like Google and or going to Chat GPT and saying, hey, give me a list of things I need to try. And then go to your friends, then get your coach, then go, now I know the strategy, I know the structure, and I know what my passionate purpose is, and then I have a voice and I'm worthy to be listened to. So this brings me to you are, you working, even in your community. For you, what is that balance for you into the community with the change and the virtual space being so heavy? And you're doing it right now. You're here. You're sharing this. This is going out to hundreds of people. Even just in email marketing and in social media, it'll also be recorded in the VIP, and that will go out there again and absolutely a chance to share it as a speaker. When you're doing that, how does that look when you're building your authenticity, your expertise? Not just to say, hey, I'm here, look at me, but you have a solution. You are caring and you want to influence that audience in any way possible. I think that grows your network exponentially. Do you find that it grows and brings you a better audience of people that want to be soul-led or heartfelt?
I think old dogs like me have to learn new tricks. And internet and posting and things like that is a new trick because it's technology that is relatively recent. But having said that, what I do with my posts is I focus on real situations. And I try to keep most of them on my business. Obviously, I comment on other people's posts and I make suggestions. But when I actually post something, I take the time to do it. I try to say, here's something that happened that maybe you should think about. And here's something you haven't thought about that maybe you should think about. I'm giving people what to think about. Whether that will result in people getting back to me is still an open question. But the people who are commenting on it are saying, you make a good point. Now the question is the point going to get through to the person who needs to make the phone call and contact me and say, you know something, you're right. Let's get this done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They know that it's important. They know that what you said resonates with them. And that's very important to understand. And that you're listening, that, hey, this feels right. This feels good. This is right. This is a connection. I want to hear more from you. And that gives them a chance with a call to action to say, hey, reach out to me. Let's connect. I know people. I truly want to change the community. I want to influence. And it's not just a numbers game. And that's where a lot of people seem to miss that. Yes, of course, Angelina, I hear you. Thank you so much, Art, for that. It's important. Let me bring Stephanie back up here, Dr. Stephanie. Where'd you go on my screen? Zoom moved you. There we are. Yay, hey, you moved in the Zoom room. What's something that you feel coming in and just coming out with a bang onto this online space that you feel entrepreneurs or leaders could understand about the virtual space that they may mistake that's a good thing instead of, social media is so bad. It's horrible. It's rotting everybody's brains. We're using it as a marketing machine and we're using it to connect with people. You use it, doctors use it, consultants use it. There's good stuff that can happen here. There's change, there's connection. There's connection happening in the room, there's connection happening on social media. What do you see that you wish that people understood about that influencing and leadership online?
I think that is a terrific question, especially because so many people are afraid of what online represents. It was always seen as, oh my gosh, there's so much noise, it's so bad, all these other pieces. We had the pandemic several years ago, and coming from the educational space, I'm a 30-year educator in K 12 and higher ed. Online was never seen as the best space, but COVID showed us that there is such an opportunity with the online space. Now, with the opportunity, there's also other resources, other versions, other apps that you can use, whatever it might be. But the tools that you use have to match the value you're trying to provide. So if you're using Zoom, like this is a great space. We're getting to know each other. We're collaborating. We're sharing some amazing information. But there's also spaces where it can be negative, where you are really just focusing on, putting people down and it's gossip and it's, negative types of social media. So I think what happens with online spaces is you have to be intentional with whichever space you choose. And you have to know what your own values, what your own goals are stepping into that space. Now, as a leader, what I would share with you is that you lose some of the communication process whenever you're online. And so, as Art was saying, he likes to see you in person. He likes to see maybe your body language, your posture, the tone, into, all of those things, which are amazing. If we're just using social media or we're just using something where we can edit and you get only the A roll rather than the B roll, sometimes you're not getting the entire picture. And so, Nicole, you even said you were in a space where people were lying to you and, they felt that that was okay and that's what they were doing. So, as a leader, you have to realize that communication is a very complex process. It's not just me speaking, you're listening, and we're communicating. There's so much more than that. It is connecting with the other individual. It is making sure that my message, if my message is a glass vase, that when I share my message with you, that I am passing it on to you and I'm not stopping until I know that you've grasped that vase where it's not going to break or change. Being a leader in this space, it's not just, hey, here are all the faces. I'm going to say what I need to say and I'm done. It's now I have to take the time to follow up and say, was there clarity in what I shared? Am I being consistent in my message? Is there understanding? Does anybody have any questions or suggestions as to how I should change? In the online space, there's more work to be done and more time that has to be used in order to make sure the messages are being shared appropriately.
100%. Absolutely. How are we using the tool, right? Is it the tool's fault? You're going to want to come into the Zoom room. We're getting off of the live. We are going to stop going online. Let me put this link in here if you guys want to hop in. I'm going to pop this in here into the comments. Get into the Zoom room. Get into the authority code.